Okay.
Okay, I think we are set up. It's going there. So, hello everybody. We're doing another creative spotlight here, and this time we have Kristin. It's so very exciting. What we're trying to do on these things, we're trying to just give opportunities for us to spotlight world changers and people in the world who are making a difference. I am Jesse. I am the founder of Above the Sun and a mentor and author coach. And I have a mission to help change the world through authentic stories. And so we're just showcasing people to do that, to inspire other creatives to come along us on the journey. And so, what better way of having our guest, Kristin? Thank you for joining us, Kristin.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Very excited.
Very exciting. Awesome. Well, let me introduce you, and we'll kind of get started with the questions. I hope you're ready to be grilled in a good way. So, from your website, you are a wife, a mother, a friend, an educator, and a creator, and also an author. I know that you have a really cool blend of things you do. You are an advocate for the visually impaired. Kristin has dedicated her career to CVI, which is many people, I didn't even know this when we started, but it stands for cortical visual impairment. She is an educator, and you've been doing that since 2012, right?
Gosh, yeah, since 2012. Yep.
Good. Awesome. And so she's also the founder of Vista Quest, which is you created as an organization to help support educators, families, and provide tools for people and with CVI. Um, she is an author, which is why we're chatting about. This is her second book that she's been releasing. She has a first book, Gifts of Sight, that was released last year, and then Digging Deep
Dad wants to talk
this
to you after
year.
you're done.
And you are, and obviously you have family in the background, so you're motivated by your love for your family and your love for God, and you
You
just
hear
have
me?
Yeah.
what, three children, husband, and yes, so don't worry about it. We bless them in this journey. So thank you. How was that? How was that, Kristin?
How was the? I'm so
Introduction.
sorry. I got
That's okay.
really quickly distracted. Can you repeat the
No,
question?
no, I was just introducing you.
Oh,
Just back, kind of all those things. How was that? As far as you're a world changer. You want to change lives. You want to offer hope. And I
yeah.
just want to try to introduce you correctly.
Yeah, it's kind of I never thought of myself as a world changer, but just thinking back throughout my life, I, went to school to work with to get a degree in social work. I just knew I wanted to work with people. That's all I knew. And then through several teaching experiences my husband and I had overseas, I realized how much I love teaching. And then when our kids were born, I was an elementary school teacher and discovered both of our boys were visually impaired, and I ended up going back to school to become a teacher for the visually impaired, which is where I've been working since 2012. And yeah, it's one of those things where you feel like you're right where God wants you,
Hmm.
and it's become a passion of mine. And just advocating and working, especially with my students who have cortical visual impairment, and then yeah, it kind of went from there. So
Yeah, and so how? So I mean, I don't fully even know. I don't want to go too deep into potentially what you do with the CVI, but like how did that come to be, and how did you start that process of actually wanting to help students?
well, my students with cortical visual impairment were often the ones that were the most overlooked versus students who were academic and needed braille or low vision tools. And they were students who were often nonverbal, did not have means of communication. And the thing about cortical visual impairment is it is the one visual impairment where when you do intervention, you can actually change neural pathways and help create vision or help your student understand what it is they're looking at. And so there's just amazing potential because you have an opportunity to really change someone's life
Hmm.
in that way, and or change their quality of life. And so when I started looking into it, I ended up going back to school while working full time. Took all these courses at Perkins University to learn more about cortical visual impairment. And um, during COVID, those years, it was really, working with my students online, kids who
Hmm.
were blind or visually impaired. It was very challenging. And especially with my students with cortical visual impairment, not being able to be with them one on one, I ended up writing lesson plans and creating kits that I could take to the families and then be on a Zoom call and with the parents and kind of guide them through using the kit. And it kind of took off, and I just realized this could go somewhere. I could reach a lot more people. So I ended up creating what's called the base kit, and it's just a starter kit with tools that helps whoever's working who has it is able to um, kind of learn about cortical visual impairment and the strategies and how to present materials and how to reach their students and how to actually change those neural pathways. And so now it's sold throughout the United States and in a couple countries overseas as well. So it's kind of crazy.
So there you are. You are a world changer. I mean, that's significant. I mean, I've known you for a few years now. I still don't
Yeah.
always fully know how you can do that, like how you can help people see, which is just the more you share, it's just phenomenal to me. I encourage everybody to look into her what she's doing more at vistaquest.org. But yeah, it's just incredible that you have this mission. And it's just, I know it's not fully what we're talking about today, but it's a big part of your life, which is super
Yeah.
exciting. So, yeah. Um, so we've known each other for many years. I'm trying to remember how we met. Was it probably through church, right? It was
Yeah.
at Surin.
Through Serin's conferences was the first time.
Okay. And that was many years ago. And then you had a book in you, and you reached out to us, and then we helped you kind of walk through your first book, and now we're doing your second book. And it's been a very great journey. And so I'm wondering, based on kind of your mission and your desire with kids, what kind of how did that stem over into you then writing your first book, The Gift of Sight, which I have right here for us. It's The Gift of Sight. This is your first one published, but last year we helped you finish this one. So what inspired you to start that book?
That was man, when you start learning about cortical visual impairment, at the time there were 10 characteristics that we really looked at with kids. And as I worked with kids and just started delving deep into these characteristics, it just started coming out all these things about how they kind of mirror our own lives and our relationship with God. And I believe we're created in the image of God. Our brains are created in the image of God. And so when you're thinking about neural pathways, and I just got super excited and felt like I had so much to share, and just how what I was learning could bring hope to just even the typical sighted person. And
Hmm.
it never dawned on me to write a book, which is kind of funny. It never was in my radar. But someone once said, I wonder if you should write a book, if you have that in you. And that thought just kind of stuck with me. And then I started kind of mapping out, if I wrote a book, how would I do it? And then I came to Jesse and I showed him my map or my ideas, Jesse and Alicia, and they both thought, hey, this has potential. And so then it kind of took off from there. But it's kind of my own personal life story and wove it in with all the different characteristics of cortical visual impairment. And then I include four of my students in the book. So yeah, I was really, really pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah, and we just kind of worked on it, and you're one of the best people we worked with, and because you were just very good at just taking you wrote fast, you wrote well, and the book came out in gosh, I mean, what, definitely less than a year. I don't know how long as far as it
Yeah.
took fully to from beginning to end, but it was uh, quite faster than the average person. So, um, I'm curious. So, how did that the book then? And you can kind of talk about your second book as well, but like overall, you as an author, how does writing books kind of align with your kind of your calling, like your mission to be a world changer, love kids, and then also write books? How do those kind of come together?
I think I'm still discovering that. This is a new gifting that I have discovered. I did not know I had. I've always loved to journal, and so I think um, part of just my time every day, I like to take my thoughts down and things I'm learning, and so I had done that for a number of years and thinking about just cortical visual impairment and ways that God was speaking to me through it, and then just feeling like I wanted to share it. And when I started writing, it just kind of poured out. I don't know how else to describe it, but it just kind of poured out, and it was fun and figuring out how to incorporate stories, whether they're mine or my students, and examples. And it was just, yeah, it was almost like a freeing thing. Like I was
Hmm.
releasing something that had been inside of me, and it was like kind of like a dam that I knew how to open it up, and it could just flow out. I don't know how else to describe it.
No, you describe it really well, and just kind of since just kind of share a bit about like what we believe that is. It's like that I mean, I believe that all of us kind of are created to share in some extent to change the world in some ways, and that we believe that yeah, we exist in heavenly places. That's kind of where the name above the sun even comes from. And it sounds like that you tapped into your true identity in some ways, and there was a part of
Mhm.
an identity that we helped you tap into, or that you helped, you tapped into with the creative juices. And that kind of once you kind of tap into that, there's like just flow and download from the Lord. And it just feels like it's very exciting for those of us who are creatives. It's like when we get into that flow zone, it just kind of comes and downloads. But I guess let me ask you then. I mean, I don't do you first of all, do you agree with that? And then second of all, if you do, like how would you, even for those who are kind of maybe listening, to help get into the flow and connecting to your identity, like how did you help do that?
Those are great questions. I feel like I know you're starting these collaboration classes, and I think it's one of those things where you feel this gifting coming on, but it's almost that collaboration, other people coming around alongside you and seeing it too, because
Yeah.
I didn't always see it, but I feel like you and Alicia were always just very encouraging and just like, this is great. You have a lot to share, that kind of thing. And that was really encouraging. And another thing was that I've always had really a heart for those who are forgotten
Hmm.
and those who have been overlooked, feeling that, most of my life, that's part of my story, is feeling like I've been overlooked a lot and forgotten just through various childhood stories. And I grew up overseas in Bolivia as a missionary kid and came to the United States feeling just like a fish out of water.
Hmm.
um, and started just through various experiences. Did not want to call attention to myself at all. I didn't want to look stupid or,
Hmm.
being
It's
in this
real.
different culture.
Yeah.
And when I started sharing some of my story, I had a friend just talk about how just me being so open was helpful to her. And so that was another thing with the writing the book, is just I just felt this maybe call it compulsion, or just calling, maybe just to be open with my own struggles of being overlooked, and then thinking about my students with CBI who are often the most overlooked, and how can I help them, and then families who have kids with disabilities are often, you could say, overlooked as well. And so how do I bring attention, and then also have that seeing that value in every person, seeing that value in people, and carry that over to whoever's reading the book can then be encouraged and feel that value. I feel like I went off of your question a little
No,
bit.
no, no. It's just yeah. I love it. And this is what's great about these. It's just whatever the Lord is sharing with you, which in a way it does kind of merge a little bit into your second book too, because you went even more vulnerable, I believe, in
Mhm.
that one. So tell us a bit about kind of what motivated you to write that one and what kind of like the journey of vulnerability and authenticity and the theme of just digging deep. I mean, whatever you want to
Mhm.
share in that. Yeah.
Yeah, that book I didn't realize I was gonna write
Hmm.
until right before I had last year. 2024 was a really, really tough year. And, it seems like sometimes when you go through really hard things, you just kind of hunker down. I don't know how to explain it. And not many people really understand or know or see that you're going through a hard time. And so often, people who are going through hard times are often alone. And last year was just, our family survived a ice storm that was really not, it was really, we had trees hitting our house while we were inside the house. We were in a dangerous situation and we were trapped for a couple days, and there was just a lot of stuff right there. And then going from living through that experience to probably the most difficult year I've had teaching wise. I am my what I do, my job, it's one of my passions, it's my calling, but it's one of those things where I cannot wait to get up in the morning on Monday, and I can't believe I'm in school. I'm just like always like I can't believe I get to do this job. And then, you know, and this was the first time where I was dreading Mondays. I couldn't wait until Friday came just so I could just be at home. And I just felt the most ineffective ever. And I just felt like I wasn't hearing from God or hearing. It was just a really, really tough fall coming back. And then coming back to school with just a lot of staff changes, just everything going on. And so there was struggle in that. There was struggle from the ice storm. I had just come back from a trip, walking from Portugal to Spain that was supposed to be all adventure, and it
Hmm.
ended up being one of the hardest challenges of my life, in a different aspect physically, and going from there right into school. And so anyway, my whole body just kind of broke down. I don't know how to explain it, and
Wow.
I hadn't really processed the ice storm yet, and I had just come back from this trip that there was so much. And so I remember coming to Jesse and Alicia Bunch saying, I feel like I need to write another book, and I think it's going to be the Camino, the trip I had just done. And Alicia was just like, yeah, I think that's a great idea, but I feel like you have another book inside you that you need to write. And it's about
Hmm.
finding treasure. And then something she just said kind of just really touched something deep that I didn't realize was there. And I ended up spending the next day just going, okay, God, what is it that you want me to write? And he just kind of put down all of these things that had been going, all these struggles throughout the last year. And those ended up being my chapters.
Yeah.
But yeah,
How
and
did
it
it,
just, what
go
was
ahead.
that?
No,
Oh,
I was gonna say, how did it feel? But go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, it was one of those books that it just flowed. I mean, it
Hmm.
just flowed. I knew what I was to write, and it just felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And as I wrote, it was very therapeutic. It was very. I just felt like God was releasing healing to me through the writing of that as well, and just kind of that. We all go through hard times. And sometimes it feels when we're going through those hard times that is there anybody out there? Is God out there? Is maybe you're not even able to mentally function, which is where I was at. And, where is the hope in that? What does God say through those circumstances? And how, um, how can your faith grow in those times when you are
Hmm.
not feeling anything? So, yeah. So I'm hoping by
Yeah.
people reading it, they can feel encouraged for their own, seeing situations in their own lives and take encouragement from it.
That's good. I was gonna ask you kind of what your hope is, and so yeah, because you're all about hope. You're all about helping people, um, see, find God even in the dark places, which has been
Mhm.
really good. Yeah, your catchphrase is to see and be seen, right? So it's like helping
Mhm.
people see, but also be seen by God. And so, um, yeah. So were there any, I know we're almost coming to an end. I know can be, we don't want to take you too long, but I'm curious, like, were there any challenges Were there any challenges tapping into kind of that deeper story? And I guess maybe any advice to kind of any authors who maybe or creatives who are kind of in that vein of like, okay, I want to tell deep stories, but yeah, I don't know how to fully do
Mhm.
that. Along those areas of challenges
Yeah.
and advice. Yeah.
I would say one thing I have really learned through both of these books is just how God speaks to us, how He knows us so well. And He speaks to us each in our own, in a unique way. And He's spoken through this time. There's a couple chapters that are kind of there. I mean, there's some humor in there, but about how God has spoken to me through others. So it's almost like, I guess my advice is to rest. I know I've noticed for myself when I start writing, I get really like I kind of have that writer's block, or I know the message I want to get out, but I'm not sure how to get it out. Taking a step back and just being still and knowing who God is, knowing God is God, and just, okay, how do you want me to get this message out? And knowing, I guess for me, when I just rest in Him, the ideas start coming in. And, or if it's something that somebody said to me, um, the other day, wherever it was, or just there were a couple situations that happened that I write about where God really spoke to me and just said, and through those things that He spoke, it showed me that He was there during the hard times. And, He never left my side, although I couldn't feel it. And then at those times where I really needed inspiration or needed guidance with a student, it happened even at the last minute. God always came through, and I was able to do the things I needed to do with my students. So I guess just the encouragement is just God knows each of you and knows how to get through to you, and to just rest in that.
Fantastic.
So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I as a creative, I can vouch for that is that rest. I mean, it's like so often we try to just do a lot of things in our own strength and just kind of just push through sometimes. Or I've heard it said there's give up cycles and there's try harder cycles. Either you keep trying to push harder and harder and you give up, or you give up and say I have nothing to offer. These create the creative traps, right? Like, it's like I have
mhm.
nothing to offer, or I'm just going to just push through. But it's that third cycle, the resting cycle that oftentimes the Lord is in, and many times our clients just kind of like we spend a lot of time to really just help them tap into that authenticity, that place of rest. And so you're not striving, you're not creating something that's not authentic, and I'm glad that once you tapped into that vein, it just kind of flowed. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. So what's next for you, Kristen? What are you working on now? And we're going to talk about where people can find these books as well. But I'm just kind of, yeah, curious what's next for you.
Yeah. Well, I started, uh, I'm not sure if you call it a newsletter or a blog, but I started that um, so my next book that I'm working on is on El Camino, my walk from Portugal to Spain, and just what happened there, um, and different, and I like
Amazing.
to use metaphors. So I will write about my experience, and then just kind of things that it brings to mind, just that how we can relate to life. I like to write where the reader is able to take what I'm writing, and or take what they're reading and apply it to their own life and be able to
Hmm.
take something from it. And so, um, yeah, and I feel like the newsletters is just another avenue where, as I'm writing the Camino, but things just come, just again that message of hope and message of um, just encouraging. encouraging people. There's a lot of, hard stuff going on in life. And so,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's kind of my heart.
Yes, which is good. So with that said, I mean, it's like so you graciously gave is giving away that second book for free for those who do join your mailing list, which is really cool. And so we'll put it, in the it's in the description of this video. But if you go to KristinGault.com. You can join her newsletter. And to, those, so I know that your heart for the newsletter is to share these little tidbits of what God is doing in your life. And you're just such a gracious person, allowing this whole book, the second book, is for free. And so whoever joins your newsletter at KristinGault.com gets it for free. Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah, they get the what is it, digital copy for free.
Digital
They
copy,
they
yes.
can download it and yeah, yep, yeah. It is available on Amazon if you would like to have a print copy, because I know there's people who would rather have a print copy as well, and I understand that.
Yep.
So
So yeah, both the books are available on Amazon, and the digital copy is available for those who join your newsletter. So yeah, I just and you're working on book three, and so you're just a fireball. You just keep going, and if you join her newsletter, you can hear all about her journey of this amazing El Camino. I mean, it's just so how long was that again? How many miles did you walk?
we did 200 miles
100
in
miles.
12 days, well, 11 days. We took one day in the middle of there, but I don't advise that.
Yeah.
If you have more time, and you can do, I mean, there's different routes. So you can go from, France, southern France, through northern Spain, and there can be, I mean, people can do 500 miles, 400. It can be, yeah, as long as you want to make it or is short. So yeah, we did the 200-mile trek.
It's going to be a good book, and I'm sure you're going to put a bunch of spiritual analogies in there as well as you do. I love the fact that you bring the physical with the spiritual and kind of make that it's like that the synapses, making the connections, right?
Mhm.
Making the connection, which is really cool. So, well, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, just I love chatting about hope with you. I love this idea of resting in the Lord, and yeah, it's just and getting into that flow. That was a cool thing to talk about. Just that when we are connected to our identity and we're really tapping into what God has for us, we can get into that flow zone. So it's great talking with you. Anything else you want to share before we conclude? And thank people for watching us for this half an hour.
I really enjoy, if my writing touches people, I really enjoy getting emails, and I will write back.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I yeah.
Yeah, which is
I
so
enjoy
big, and this means something for people who may not know. Like writers, are real people too, and so like reviews are really good. If you like her books, put a review on Amazon. Join her newsletter, and if you like it, just say, "Hey, this has touched me." Kristen does actually read the newsletters, and it does honor. It honors, I would say, most writers to hear back from their people. So. Well, cool. Thank you, Kristen, for joining us and talking with all that you're doing, and I just bless you in your journey as well as a world changer. So
Great. Well, thank you. This has been
yes,
an honor. Thank you.
yes, yes, it has been an honor. Thank everybody for watching. We're going to go ahead and end now, and I'm going to try to figure out how to end this correctly. I believe. Let's see. I always have a hard time with ending. Yeah, there you go. Stop live stream. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody. Go ahead and go change the world.